Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of Wake Up Call. I'm back, and it is the end of the year. Thank God, right? But that's what we always say. And technically, this is not New Year. The true New Year is supposed to be in the spring. That was another distortion, an inversion that the cult did when they wanted to implement the new year during Saturn season, and during the death of the year in the winter. So it's another distortion. But anyway, January is my birth month. I have a birthday coming up. I'm going to be 40 soon. Yes, the big 4-0, it's happening. And it always sucked having my birthday right in the middle of January when I was a kid because it was always snowing. And like if I had a party, it was maybe going to get canceled. But this year, we're going to go skiing. It's been 3 years since I've had a proper vacation. So actually, it's probably been even longer than that. And just because we've been busy with kids. So I'll probably try to get an episode after the new year and then before I leave for my ski trip, which I'm so excited about. I'm just glad to get a break. And I get a break from the kids too, which is really nice. Anyway, I figured this week I would jump around with everything that's transpired over the past few days because it's been a while since I've done that, and call this the end of the year mashup. So we had the Bondi Beach shooting in Australia, which we obviously aren't being told the truth about any of that. The very first thing I saw regarding it too was the survivor Arsen Atrovsky, who just so happened to be a survivor of October 7th in Israel too. What are the chances? What are the chances that he was a survivor during that incident and this Australian terror attack? Like what? It's got to be zero. It's got to be negative. It's got to be negative percentage. I feel like they shove it in our faces when they publicize stuff like this. I mean, do you think that we are really that stupid? Well, I guess they do. But who takes selfies during a life or death situation? It's one thing to take photos or videos to document exactly what's happening, and do boots on the ground journalism or whatever you want to call it. But even at that, like if my life is on the line, my brain is not thinking about that. My brain is thinking about survival. So both times, both incidents, he was taking selfies of himself. I'm sorry, but you must not be fighting that hard for your life if that's what you're worried about. And then so many people commented on his wound and how it would have been properly cleaned before they would have bandaged it like that, that no nurse would ever do it like that. And then all of the videos of people just randomly lounging in lounge chairs like nothing is even happening. You'll catch a few people like randomly not even worried at all. So all of these red flags, what else do we really need to discuss, right? That's the gist of it. Then Rob Reiner, the actor director, killed in his home along with his wife. And obviously when you hear about these Hollywood incidents, you kind of, at this point, it's a bit predictable. And then when I heard it was his son, I took an interest in it, obviously. And it happened in West LA. When I lived in Los Angeles, I have to say, West LA always kind of freaked me out. It's also where the OJ, Nicole Simpson murder happened. I believe the Mendez brothers, they were either Beverly Hills or West LA. Lots of like highly publicized murders have taken place in that part of Los Angeles. And I always kind of stayed in my little bubble on the east side of town, if you're familiar with LA, in Los Feliz and Silver Lake. And, you know, those places certainly weren't perfect, but they weren't as culty. And sure, you might find more homeless people around that area, but you don't find as many of these types of stories. Anyway, so I brought up the name Mendez brothers. That was a case that some of you might remember if you're my age or a little bit older, where these two brothers killed their parents, and it ended up that it was a very publicized case, but it ended up that they claimed that the parents sexually abused them, and that's why they wanted revenge. Well, it sounds to me like the same thing is happening in this Rob Reiner incident and murder. Obviously, we don't know for sure if his son did it, I guess, but it looks like he's guilty. And if you watch some of the clips of Rob Reiner and his son and their dynamic, you can tell it was, I personally can tell that it was a toxic, probably abusive relationship. The son, I actually, like, my heart aches for him when I watch some of the older videos. You can tell he was definitely abused, or he was an MK Ultra victim. And Rob Reiner had known CIA connections. I mean, pretty out there. So it's very possible that his son was an MK Ultra victim, and or that he was abused by his father. So I came across these clips on Instagram that somebody shared of a roast that was done. A roast, I'm sure most of you know what a roast is, but in Hollywood they do like a thing celebrating somebody where you get made fun of for an hour or two, and it's usually comedians who do it. So Billy Crystal was one of the speakers, and a few other people. And they bring up very weird talk of Reiner basically being into kids, and everybody's laughing. What the fuck? That he had, a preference for kids, and then this happens, and then you see the way his son acts around him. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out that this seems very much like the Mendez brothers case to me. So check these clips out and see what you think.
When he began working closely with children, they compared him to Woody. But what I respect most about Rob is his deep, almost suspicious love for kids, and he freely gives them his time, his money, whatever it takes to get them into the van. But you know, revenge. Do his work for kids. Where's all your pals? Where are the big wheels? I'm your pal, but where's the other guys you hang out with? Where's your Spielberg? Where's your Hanks? Where's Papa? Where's Mel? Because you're the 2,000-pound man. Where's Sweet Meg? Where is Meg? Not here. And she...
Here's Rob Reiner and his dad. Quick question. Would you guys kiss your dad like that? I wouldn't.
Typical night. Carl would slip into Rob's bed. Jesus. Roll him over. Swab him down. And say something like, I'm thinking about hiring Maury Amsterdam to play Buddy Sorrell. What do you think? Well, the success of the Dick Van Dyke Show changed things dramatically. Carl started inviting many of his famous friends to son. And that list includes some of the greats in comedy. Paul Lind. Dom DeLuise. Rip Taylor. Danny Kaye. Charles Nelson Riley and Rock Hudson, whom I frankly don't think was that funny.
Another thing that people have noticed is that he had what is called sanpaku eyes. It's a Japanese term, and I've noticed this too, but I never knew that that's what it was called, where if somebody is mentally unwell, that they have more whites in their eyes. You know, it looks like almost like their eyes are bulging, and sometimes it can be whites above or whites below, like that look like, you know, even cartoons draw a crazy person that way. But it's when more of the whites of their eyes show. And sanpaku eyes, yeah, it's a whole thing in Japanese culture where they believe it's spiritual sickness. So sanpaku is a Japanese term referring to a person with visible sclera on 3 sides of their irises, the normal left and right, plus above or below. The term is most often used in English to refer to a folk belief whereby it functions as an omen or symptom in alternative medicine. It was introduced into English in the mid-1960s by George Asawa. Yes, as a condition supposedly cured by his macrobiotic method. And he was one who said that JFK was one of the people who had sanpaku. So he warned that something was going to happen to him as an omen. So it's very, I think that there's truth to it. I think that look in the eyes is an indication of trauma of some sort, and how that trauma plays out. It can happen in a number of different ways. A lot of people have pointed out that the Olsen twins also have it. I posted a tweet, I reshared something where actually Joe Rogan can have it, and Russell Brand can sometimes have it too. And it's not just like going like this, you know, where you really have to try. It's like not, it doesn't take much effort to have the whites of the eyes show. And anyway, the son who killed Rob Reiner clearly had those eyes. He was obviously mentally disturbed. And again, just by the looks of him, my heart, it actually aches for him. Not saying that murdering anybody is right. I'll never agree with that. But I think that it's highly likely that he was abused. So this morning I was on X briefly, and I see that Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes are talking about the Mormon link to Charlie Kirk, and Fuentes is saying, oh, you know, Candace is only talking about it in a woo-woo kind of way about her dreams and beehives and bees or whatever, and not really like doing the hard investigation. And then Alex is commenting on how a large percentage of the CIA and FBI or whatever, I think he says CIA, but it might be both, says a large percentage of them are Mormons, and they're kind of like bashing on Mormons, but they are not making the big connection, which they know. If they know this, they know that the whole technocratic transhumanist agenda is basically coming out of places like Utah and Racine, Wisconsin, which are predominantly LDS. That's the big thing here. It's like anybody who's done this homework, yeah, okay, it's connected to Charlie Kirk, but if we keep focusing on just that, then we're not getting to the root of the actual problem. And of course, neither one of them mentioned that. Like, neither one of them mentioned, oh, hey, yeah, maybe we want to dig a little bit further into this because they're running the whole freaking technocracy in the United States. Of course they haven't, because they're controlled opposition. And again, people like me completely watching this all unfold, and they're not talking to any of the people who originally spotted this or did the real homework and can see that there's a way bigger issue. Anyway, I thought that that was pretty interesting. And not only that, I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was the first or second episode that I did covering the LDS link to the Charlie Kirk shooting. And I shared that Alex Jones was heavily funded by the Mormons when he was protecting himself, saying like, no, the Jews don't fund me. It's the Mormons. Oh, really? You didn't mention that part on InfoWars with your little discussion with Nick.
Cover up. It would be about the Mormon Mafia because the killing happened in Utah. Turning Point is a Mormon organization. It's Utah Public Safety that's doing the investigation. I never even heard of that on her show. She never even talks about that. Instead, she's talking about her dreams and beekeepers and, you know, almost everything else. So,
and by the way, I'm not bashing Mormons in general. A lot of them are great conservative people, but if you know about intelligence and study politics, the Mormons have percentage the highest number in federal law enforcement and intelligence. So all you're saying is in Utah, that area, it's a zone where you could definitely, if you wanted to change the outcome of something, do it.
Exactly. And it's strange that it happened there because that is a zone of control where they would have a lot of influence, where they have like a mafia-like kind of stranglehold. And that was never brought up, which is interesting. And I think that it's very comparable to QAnon. This is like QAnon 2.0.
So there's that. Keep an eye out on that one. And I will be getting back into my LDS research, but sometimes I need to step away from things so then I can come back in with a fresh pair of eyes and ears. Obviously, there's been more Candace Owens, Erica Kirk talk and drama. It's so ridiculous. So they met in secret, supposedly in secret. And there's a clip of Candace talking about how she didn't drink the water. Like her fans or whatever supporters said, don't drink the water. Like it would be poisoned. I mean, so ridiculous, absolutely absurd. And I mentioned it last episode, how I said between Erica Kirk and Candace Owens, Candace is probably the better actress of the two. But honestly, as the days go on, it's like she's slipping. It's like the mask is coming off, and she's actually losing her ability to act almost. So check out this clip of her talking about the water. It's so absurd.
Not know if they were going to be open. I didn't know what Erica's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats. You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. It was a lot. There's a lot going on, okay? And the conversation.
So yeah, Candace Owens, obviously, like all you have to do, I've said it for the past 2+ years, all you have to do is look at the family that she's married into. That's it. I mean, if you're a rebel, I don't think you're going to marry into the House of Lords. Anybody with the name Lord, I would run in the opposite direction of, okay, there's no way you're a real rebel. And then you marry into British aristocracy. Like it's ridiculous. And she mentions a lot of things that are true, but yeah, does she really talk about the black nobility when she talks about the Mormons? Does she talk about all of the technocratic aspects of it? No, they give you bits and pieces of the truth, but not the whole entire thing. And you know what else I'm noticing too is, I guess it was like a year ago, I heard her say Sabbateans. I'm like, I wonder where she got that term from. I think that they monitor, not them directly, but their little intelligence team. When I say they, I'm talking about Candace Owens and people like Russell Brand and stuff. But I think that they monitor people like David Icke, and they just steal his work, bits and pieces that they know that they can sell the public on 90% of it and leave the other 10% that really matters out. And they have to, we serve a purpose for them too. And it's to see what we know and what they can take from us. And lately I've been feeling like I'm being watched about some of the information that I've put out there. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they steal. I wouldn't be surprised if they, come on Iconic and even pay for a subscription just to watch us. So if you are out there, that's my little love letter to you. But yeah, I think that we serve a purpose for them too, but we can't not say anything, right? Another thing too is obviously a lot of us have gone back and forth whether the shooting was even real. The Charlie Kirk shooting was real or staged or blue beam or whatever. And there's all this martyrdom happening with Candace Owens. And even though I think the whole thing with her and Erica Kirk is just a distraction from the bigger picture, it's also possible that maybe they're planning on, like, if Charlie was a blue beam, a blue beam operation, if the Charlie Kirk shooting was, are they planning on doing something like that with Candace? I've kind of thought that maybe that's a possibility. Because I think that the blue beam stuff is not going to be rolled out exactly the way that we think it is. Like, I don't think that it's just going to be holographic projections of UFOs in the sky. I think it's going to be much more complicated. I think a lot of what we think will look real but is not will be incidents and false flags done this way. It'll be an easier way to do false flags. And then the UFO alien part of it, I'm thinking that maybe that part of it will actually be done through the hive mind and through frequencies, actually, and less with the blue beam, because we're expecting to see these holograms in the sky. So if people are hooked up to the hive mind and are mind controlled and they don't have their own thoughts or feelings anymore, and then they start having these like spiritual visions that aren't real, maybe it's another way to get people to actually hallucinate too. So that could be all tied into it. I don't think that it's going to happen exactly the way that we expect it to. But we'll get back to that in a second. So Candace Owens was put on a platform overnight. Like, I understand you change your political opinions at some point and then you gain traction, right? But she didn't start off as a right-leaning commentator at all. She was actually a left-leaning commentator and blogger, I guess. And then all of a sudden, overnight, her conversion happened and she was all emotional and angry, and she got people's attention because she does have a big personality, I will say that, but she was perfect to exploit. So even if she went into it for the right reasons, if you're an emotionally driven person, I can be too, but I have become mindful of it. You're easier to exploit. I mean, that's just the truth. And then she was given a platform at Turning Point and funded by Zionist donors and billionaires. So she's allowed to say the things that she does about Zionists. I mean, her husband's father is a Zionist. She married into Zionism. And she can say all day long that, well, I'm not my father-in-law and I'm allowed to have different opinions, but you don't marry into the House of Lords unless you're going to abide by the rules. That's just the way that it is. Another thing too, Turning Point USA was all white and predominantly male, so they needed a diversity hire. I mean, they would never come out and say it, but she was perfect because she was well-spoken and she was African American and she was young and she was a woman. She had all the things. But the most interesting part of this all is I have come across an amazing researcher. Her name is Dana, and her YouTube channel is called Rotting Jewels. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her, but I've been saying, oh, I'm looking for like the next 7 C's. I'm itching to like find somebody I can help. I mean, not that I'm anybody special whatsoever, but I love making sure that other people get the credit that they deserve. And I found this awesome girl, Dana, and she has done her homework into Candace Owens. So if you have been questioning whether Candace is controlled opposition or not, well, get a load of this chick's work because it is phenomenal. She found out, so one of the selling points of Candace was that, she grew up sort of in a broken home and that her grandparents raised her and she was underprivileged, the typical hero's journey story. Well, that's not true. Her parents actually didn't divorce until 2016. And the whole lie that she was raised by her grandparents, this girl, Dana, has done the homework and actually found the court records and everything, that whole story is not true whatsoever. So she's done her homework, and I just want you to check out this clip from her work, and hopefully I'm going to get her on the show. I'm hoping after the new year, so check it out.
A sticking point in Candace's narrative is that her parents got divorced when she was young. We've read this over and over and over again. Well, it would turn out that that's a lie. And I'm sorry, but there's been too many sins of omission here. So this is from the State of Connecticut Judicial Branch Superior Court case lookup, Evelyn Davis Owens versus Robert Owens. So this was filed in November of 2016. Case information, dissolution of marriage in Stamford, and obviously it was approved uncontested, and the wife, her mom filed it. Evelyn Davis Owens, plaintiff, filed November 14, 2016. Robert Owens' dad, he was the defendant, obviously, and that's 2017. There you go, bada boom, bada bing. So this is everything. Case management agreement by March of 2017. Now, hopefully you guys can see that because I've maxed this out on my screen, but that's just another sin of omission, okay? Because she was almost 30 years old when her parents got divorced. So why are you lying? I don't know.
Then she did another interesting little homework run. In 2008, her father filed a lawsuit against Candace's high school for students leaving racist messages on her voicemail and bullying her, and her dad hired Norm Pattis. That name might sound familiar to you. Who uses Norm Pattis as a lawyer? Well, Alex Jones, and he used Norm Pattis in his Sandy Hook case. Well, this is a huge piece of the puzzle that Dana found, and that is that Candace's father was in charge of maintenance and security during Sandy Hook. Who's talking about that? Who's talking about that? So I'm so excited about her work. But yeah, she finds Candace's dad's resume and cross-references everything, and it's him. He was working security during Sandy Hook, and a high school lawsuit, and he uses Norm Pattis, who also represents Alex Jones. Are we starting to connect the dots here? So check this out.
But I think I'm going to read this again because it took me 26 hours to get here. Okay. In charge of contracts, janitorial, snow removal, and landscaping, fire alarm systems, and security during tragic loss of life at Sandy Hook. How do you like them apples? I would like to ask everybody a question. Do you think that Alex Jones knows that her father was in control of the contracts for Sandy Hook during tragic loss of life? I'm quoting her own dad. Do you think it's odd that Candace and her father both have the exact same attorney as Alex Jones for Alex Jones' Sandy Hook lawsuit? Do you understand what kind of insider you have to have the contracts, the supervisor of the contracts for that? Do you think that that is information that the public might want to know? Because literally, he just set himself in control of essentially the cleanup crew. This is according to her own father's resume. This isn't me pulling it out of thin air. So if you want to report my shit, go nuts. But this information's out here. Do you also now understand why there has been the name game and why she does not want to talk about her parents?
So, like I said, I'd love to have her on the show. I've already put it out there, and she said that she's interested. So hopefully we have her. But go check her YouTube page out over the next 2 weeks while I'm gone and go into her work, because I'm telling you, she is the next 7 C's. She's really good. Another thing that she found, last but not least on this, was that her husband was a member of the Bullingdon Club. Now, you guys in the UK might be familiar with the Bullingdon Club, but it's basically like a Skull and Bones over there in the UK, and they do these terrible rituals. It's all like fraternity ritual type Skull and Bones stuff, and they say it's a good old boys club, but you can go look it up on Wikipedia. Anyway, her husband was a part of that, and I thought that was kind of interesting too. So last but not least, yesterday, I came across the trailer for a new film called Disclosure Day. And who's directing it? Steven Spielberg. It'll be released in June, but check this clip out. Religious symbolism, one world religion. There's shape-shifting happening in it. And they're going to market this as a UFO alien film. But if you pay attention to the trailer, actually, there is hive mind innuendo, and like they're in this NSA type building, and it looks like mind control of some sort is happening. So I think that there's going to be an innuendo for sure, related to the AI hive mind. And then there's channeling that's happening. I mean, straight out of the gate. So obviously this is predictive programming. Now, I've kind of thought that 2026 might be the disclosure year, but if they're rolling this film out, maybe it'll be 2027. I mean, I don't think that they would have legit disclosure before this film comes out. But like I said, I think that they're going to market it as a UFO alien film, but really the underlying message is actually going to be more about the hive mind control aspect of it all. But it should be interesting to see. It's one that I'm definitely going to go see, and then we'll have to make a real assessment. So check out the trailer and have a great holiday. I love you all, and I'll see you in the new year.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today's.
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
People keep wondering. Encountering the unknown.
They're coming! They're coming!
They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?